everybody, to the Talking to Frosty podcast, the show where I get to hang out and talk to some of my more interesting, sometimes strange, and just sometimes downright weird friends. So sit back, turn off your brain, and turn up your radio. Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to the show. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us again today for another edition of Talking to Frosty. The show where we just kind of hang out and talk, and there's no real scripted thing going on here. It's just sure, I have a couple of questions I ask, but really, there's just kind of the conversations they just go wherever they go, and then Anyways, before we get started though, I need to give a quick shout out to RJB Photo. My friend Rob Butler, amazing photographer. Has come and done photos for my wedding, and at just about any band I've been in the last probably 20 years or so. It takes amazing pictures. He shoots bands, promotional material, product advertising, and erotic imagery. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram under RJB Photo. Seattle photographer since 1990, but probably earlier than that elsewhere. So hit him up. Fucking A. All right, ladies and germs. Today I am joined by my friend Frank Harlan, aka Billboard. If you do not know who Billboard is, please turn in your punk rock membership card and have a good whatever.
Oh no, yeah, you don't be so mean to everybody about that, But you have to remember, Frosty, you're going back a lot of years. Some of the people listening to this weren't even a sparkle in their mama's eye when this whole thing started. So we're talking about when you were a teenager, right? That's where your fanboy stuff came from.
Yeah, right. I remember as a kid. There's been certain instances that brought me to punk rock. Thank God I found punk rock when I did. I was a pretty weird kid. I thought I had to keep up with the Joneses and stuff, and I think the great thing about punk rock was as you're sitting there trying to be as normal as you can and be as fucked up as you are, you're just on your last little trying to be normal, and then a band like Agnostic Front just pushes you off the cliff, and you just say, you know what, fuck it, this is who we are now. And so anyways, growing up there was a public access show, and for anybody not old enough, public access was usually on channel 77, I believe, on the cable box, the little brown box with the ticker on it. My dad didn't let us watch public access, so we'd have to sneak over to other people's houses and stuff, and we just get stoned and watch public access and stuff. And one of the great shows was Bomb Shelter Videos. I'm not even sure what time of night it came on. I think it was pretty late.
Well, I think if you were so that's interesting because of the different routes because community, public access, community access. So let me just kind of take you back a little bit, okay? In 1983, MTV kind of broke the airwaves, and it was a big effing deal because they were doing shit no one's ever seen before, which they don't even do anymore, which is basically play music videos. But that year that followed, all these different guys decided to try and experiment with the concept of music videos in different cities. So they started doing these UHF stations, which are a 20-mile radius of wherever the antenna is. And they opened one up in Anchorage, Alaska, where I lived at the time. And then I was publishing an underground magazine called Warning, and most of it was circulated into Seattle. So all the clothing stores in Seattle carried Warning, and we basically reviewed cassettes and albums and stuff. But this opportunity came up to be a video jock. And back then, I had a big green mohawk, and they didn't put me in the video jock position right up front. They let me be an operator for some god-awful girl who just didn't get the concept of a video jock. They let her go about a month later, and they gave me her job because they realized I could get on camera and run the whole show by myself. Changing machines, changing tapes, doing this stuff, bringing my potting down my box, Anyway, so I had that gig for a while, and during that time, I started two shows. One called Bomb Shelter Videos, which was just all the stuff that they wouldn't let me play and all the weird shit that I could get from other people that they would just send to me, and another show called the No Wave Hour. And they weren't letting me play a lot of new wave music in 1984. So I did a show called the No Wave Hour, where we promised a full hour of music videos without water in them. And they let me use that as a format to get away with going off the playlist, right? So that was a really popular show. And then Bomb Shelter was an hour format originally, and it had a lot of just weird shit in it, things that I could just get, but stuff also they wouldn't let me play in regular rotation. And I think the best part of it was, like, I did a first episode and the president of the company looked at it and he said, well, you don't have to be such an asshole on all the video jock breaks because you're a really nice guy. Why don't you let the music be in people's face and just be a nice guy? And I was like, okay. And started making this series of shows where they let me use the editing system and everything after I got off my shift. So I was a late night video jock from 10 at night till 2 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. And I did it live, 4 hours a night, 5 days a week.
As you were doing that, I was watching it. I'm not sure if you had moved down to Seattle yet and were doing it down here, but I remember just turning it on and just me and my friends would just be blown away as we'd be watching like videos by like Husker Du and like The Accused and I mean just like it was like the world was opening up to us a little bit and. Or the punk rock world was kind of becoming a little bit more like, whoa, look at that, and then another video would come on, like, oh my god,
right?
It's
I
cool.
know, or you see their name on a flyer and you go, man, I'm too young to go out and see that band.
Yeah, but you can see it on Bomb Shelter videos.
Yeah.
There was so much that Bomb Shelter was basically like giving us kids. It's not like. Today where like say a kid can watch a YouTube video and then there's like all these algorithms and there's like another 10 bands on there that like they're probably gonna love or something, or it wasn't like quite as easy to get a hold of. I mean, it was like it was there was no internet, there was
dude, you gotta admit, I mean, when you're thinking of your teenage years and those were my 20-somethings.
Yeah.
We didn't have a fucking flip phone. What did we get? At one point we had pagers, which was a thing. And we're still talking like the 80s and the early 90s was freaking pagers. We didn't have even fucking flip cell phones. And even when I was like editing Bomb Shelter videos, on like writing scripts for the show, it was a 386, like a Macintosh 386.
Yeah.
That I learned how to use on the graveyard shift at Kinko's.
Oh wow!
Because I was too old to have ever had computer classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Fallout Records was one of the big record stores. Time Travelers. My cousin Susie, who my father just adored, would come and pick me up and take me to go be bad. It was awesome.
Where did you go at Fallout?
We'd go to Fallout and Time Travelers and stuff.
Skateboard shop and record store.
And record stores. My father was like totally, telling me like, I don't want you going anywhere near that Time Travelers place. And then
really?
my cousin Susie would come pick me up, and that was like the first place because I don't know, I think she dated like one of the guys there or something. So it was just like, we're gonna go see my boyfriend at Time Travelers, and and the guy in there, I can't remember the guy's name. He had like red long hair. He just put on a record and it would just blow my mind, and then like he just like, oh, you think those guys are cool, check these out. And he put on like the Dickies or something. I was like, Crucifix was like a band back then that I remember just blowing my fucking mind. I couldn't even and then Big Black was pretty experimental and stuff, but I mean that I was just like everything he put on was just changed my whole world. Like I walked into Time Travelers one person and walked out at like a whole different person or something. But same kind of thing was with Bomb Shelter videos. I remember, we'd watch all these funny shows and we'd go to my friend Mark's house and get stoned and just watch Public Access. There was all kinds of weird shows on there. Like some guy would like read books while totally nude while like a chick like totally like gave him a blowjob. It's pretty wild stuff. And then there was another guy.
Early community, uncensored community access.
Yeah. They just did whatever they wanted. And there was like the White Power half hour with a guy named Kelly something. I don't remember his last name. That was a pretty crazy one because and it was funny to us because he'd have like a little bit of rhetoric speech or whatever and stuff, and then he would like open the phone lines and everybody on there was like, fuck you, we're gonna kill you or something. If we ever see you on the street, you're dead.
That's funny.
And then a couple other shows would come on, and then just some really weird stuff. I mean, I don't know if you had to pay to be on public access.
No, that was the thing. So when cable companies came into being, they had to provide this public service to the community, and so they came up with this concept of community access, where they would provide the equipment and the editing room, and people from the community could come in and make their own TV programming for this station as a public service. And so that's kind of what saved Bomb Shelter, because I had experimented with it at this station called Catch 22, and then they decided that I got too popular, me and this big bodybuilder guy who came after me. So I did 10 at night to 2 in the morning live, and he did 2 in the morning till 6 a.m. And what was his name? I can't remember, but he was a bodybuilder, big old black guy. And me and him, we just kind of owned the night, right? Well, they decided that they wanted to give the station a new look and put everybody in suits and ties, and we just didn't fit the bill. Yeah. So they hired a new program director to fire us. And they fired us, and then Community Access had just come to be, and so I went over there and I brought them the TV show, and I was on before like at midnight, and they put me on in the evening, so now I'm on at 7 o'clock, and parents would say shit like, at least I know where my kids are at 7 o'clock, because they'll be in front of the TV watching Bomb Shelter videos, you know?
Yeah. Learning stuff.
It was so funny, and so then they literally let me take the equipment home, and we built a studio in the garage where we shot Bomb Shelter videos and some other weird shows, and we made TV commercials for Community Access to promote them on the other stations, because cable was still really, under 50 stations still. Yeah. So they loved us and they loved me, and I got to do a bunch of stuff, and then I just got this burr to move. I decided I wanted to move to Seattle and launch this TV show in Seattle. And and in order to do it, what I had started doing with my old roommates was we started making a half-an-hour TV show and then sticking commercials into it so that I could learn how to program a 30-minute program, which would be 23 plus 7 in commercial ads and bumpers and outros and shit.
Yeah.
And so I brought the idea to Seattle, and I showed it to a few different TV stations, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's really interesting, but we're not going to pay for that." That's how TV works, is like someone gives them a package of 26 episodes or something like that, and then they buy that, and they buy the rights to play it as much as they want, which is kind of old school. Now it's all streaming and shit.
Yeah.
But so what I did was I went to Channel 11, KSTW, and offered to buy an infomercial slot at 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursdays. And that's how I got Bomb Shelter on the air. And I got so lucky because this dude named Bill Graff had just been hired as a program director. And, he started as like a page at NBC Studios in New York City, and now he's program director at a TV station in Washington. And he watched the pilot episode, because I made a pilot, and Sonic Youth came over and did like all my opening bumpers and stuff. And he says to me, he goes, "I'll tell you what, everybody's going to hate this. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a 52-week contract, but we're not going to tell anybody." So my TV show starts in fucking November of like 87 in KSTW. And the people who own the station went at about week 10 or 11, they're like, "Well, this is really weird. How come we have like 40,000 viewers in Canada and Eastern Washington, Western Washington at 1 o'clock in the morning for a half an hour on Thursday nights?" So they said, "Hey, would someone dub us a copy of that show?" Well, that was like week fucking 13. And, I like experimental noise and shit like that. So I thought episode 13 should be just like a punch in the face. So I put Einsters and Neubauten. They're playing Myrtle Edward Park, but they're playing like 55-gallon drums that are on fire and pieces of rebar with violin bows that are amplified. I fucking love that, right? And then a guy named Zev who played Found Objects, but Found Objects amounted to like, metal rings and some chain and milk bottles with rocks in them. To me, it was just a great episode. Well, they recorded that one, and that's the one that the people that own the station got to watch. And they were like, "Holy fuck, we got to get this off of our station." And so they call me in, and they say, hey, we just watched an episode of your show, and this is like 1987, and it's probably, 1988, we're probably about March, because we've been on since November. They said, we believe you're the Antichrist, and we want to take you off the air. And I just looked at him like, are you fucking insane? So I pulled out like all this printed publicity that I got, because all these people were so blown away that a show like this was actually on broadcast television, because it's like impossible. But I bought an infomercial slot, so it's not impossible. And I spread out all this publicity, and I said, look at all the publicity that I got from all over the world about being able to do what I've done with you guys. This makes you look amazing. I said, if you take me off the air right now, I could double the negative publicity about you taking me off the air, and people are going to think that you're crazy. And so they said, we'll honor your 52-week contract. And my last episode runs 52 weeks. And they call me up. They say, your tapes are sitting at the front desk. Please come and pick them up. And that was like the last thing I heard from them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just watching Bomb Shelter again, like just.
Those were the early episodes. You got to see so much great shit.
I don't think I saw anything back, until I started doing the tape digitizing for you. I'd say like 2 years ago, maybe. My friend Glenn introduced us, and I was. He was just like, yeah, so Bill's got all these videotapes and stuff he needs to be digitized and stuff, and would you be interested in doing it? And I was just like, yeah, I'll do it for nothing. I don't even care. Like, this is such a big part of my childhood that like I'd be honored. So I started doing it, and then and now Bill has them all up on YouTube now.
I didn't get all of them up there, but I'm putting them up a little bit at a time. So it's actually really cool, dude. Like I'm not like a super geek, but I'm kind of geeky. So, I got the URL, bombsheltervideos.com. So all you got to do is type in bombsheltervideos.com, and it'll take you to the YouTube channel. I tried to write a little bit, like descriptions, usually people don't read them. Read the descriptions, because they're going to tell you that a lot of these dubs, I didn't go through and clean anything up. So there might be a couple blank spots where commercials went in, or there might be 15 seconds where you got to wait for something to start because it was edited for television. But it tells you the playlist for each show. And when you see the playlist and you go, what? I can't believe that like the Cramps are playing at where? Some institution? Or PIL Live or Biafra Live. I mean, where are you going to see that shit? I feel really good about the things that you dubbed over and being able to put it up on the air. People are watching it.
Sure, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, it's just for nostalgia. I mean, or just to go like, oh, that's what Soundgarden looked like, when they were first kind of starting out.
Oh, dude,
I had
There's the thing that you did that maybe you didn't notice, but it was a demo reel of music videos and live things that we did. So I put that up there. That thing's been watched so many times because I tell you who's in it, but I don't tell you everybody. I maybe throw some initials in there. Well, that was like one of like Alice in Chains' first gigs. So I got Lane Staley singing, like one of his first gigs in this compilation reel that's up there. But I didn't say that. You just have to kind of read the description. And if you're in the know, you kind of go, fuck, is he saying Lane? Is that, Yeah, and it's Alice in Chains from like 1988.
Yeah, I don't even think I think I saw them on a flyer, but I had no idea who they were. Like one time at Fallout, I think I saw like something that said Alice in Chains on it. I just thought it was kind of a catchy name. I didn't know they were going to be like one of the biggest bands in the world ever. Coming out of Seattle. I mean, Seattle back then was like a ghost town. I mean, people. A lot of bands wouldn't come here because it was such like kind of a far. It was like really far out
really
of the
far
way
away.
for like maybe one show. It was like back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. Like there was there's probably like 15 places you can play in Washington State. You could make a tour of just Washington State if you wanted to.
Yeah, easy. Yeah,
Bremerton and everywhere else. But I mean back then it was just like maybe you could come to Seattle and play for like 20 people or something,
I know, in like 1984, I think I saw Butthole Surfers in the Gorilla Room.
Yeah, I've seen videos on bomb shelter videos where it was like Social Distortion playing for like 20 people in some loft or something that kind of looks like it might have been down on like the waterfront. I don't think it was the OK Hotel, but
Well, and I'm not sure, like a lot of the stuff that was like maybe the LA bands, the like West Coast punk scene.
yeah.
A lot of that shit was like Flipside Video and Target Video, right? And SST. So like SST was just doing a lot of stuff. And so what happened and what made punk rock so available on video was just a crazy thing happened. So like in 1983 or 84-ish, all the electronic, what they call ENG, electronic news gathering equipment, went from 3/4 inch to beta. Well, that's a whole different, that's a smaller tape, it's a better production, it's a smaller camera, it's, just tighter. So all of a sudden, all the surplus gear became available. SST snagged some of that stuff, Flipside Video snagged some of that, Maximum Rock and Roll grabbed some of that shit, right? So now the magazines that I love, the fanzines that I love, were out with this field gear doing 2 and 3 camera shoots and mixing it live, and everybody's learning how to use the video equipment because we never had that quality available to document these artists. And so, so we start trading shit. Like I'm doing this show called Bomb Shelter, and then this guy's doing Real George's Back Room, and then Al's doing Flipside Magazine. And we start sending shit to each other of different things. Like I have stuff on some of their compilation reels. They all had stuff in my show. And then, like Real George's Back Room, sometimes I'd run a half an hour Bomb Shelter show and then a half hour of his show on community access because we could get away with that kind of stuff way back when. But man, we were doing everything to bring the underground up to the people that wanted it.
Yeah.
The people that didn't want it,
Yeah, whatever.
didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
But people, what's interesting though, Frosty? is look at all the fucking resources people have at their fingertips now. We didn't have any of that.
Nothing. Yeah.
I mean, when we would do a flyer for our band, if we wanted the font bigger, we had to fucking blow it up on the copy machine, then cut it out and stick it back on the page.
Yeah, right.
You know, so like the headlining band was going to be big, and you wanted it in 78 font. You did.
There was this cool trick that a guy at the Kinko's taught us when I was playing in younger hardcore bands was to take the logo or whatever and glue it to the back of the flyer and then copy that through the copy machine, and then it comes out with the logo already on it. It was like this magic trick or something.
Yeah.
Before Photoshop and before flyer maker on the Mac or whatever and stuff. But I mean, there was so much. It was just so like learning how to make fire with a rock and like a stick or something. Punk rock was so like
do it yourself.
It was very, very DIY. Like if you didn't do something, then you just got nothing. And that was the cool thing about it was like it could just be whatever you wanted it to be. Like you go to Fallout Records and stuff.
Do you have my album?
Your album?
Did I ever give you my album? I should have brought it for you.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I know I don't have it. I didn't know you had an album.
I sang in the band called the Klingons.
The Klingons.
Yeah, but
Nice.
not like the space Klingons. It's spelled CLYNG-ONZ.
Oh, like the Klingons.
Like the hair that hangs on, like the turd that hangs on the hair of your dog's asshole.
Like the dingleberry.
It's a dingleberry, exactly. Exactly. Because, dude, we're a punk rock band from the early 80s. It's fucking all slock shock. It's anything that upsets people, even though there's really nothing wrong with any of it.
Yeah, there was some band from like my old neighborhood in Mount Lake Terrace in the 80s. I think it might have come from like either the early 80s or the late 70s, and I can't remember the name of the band, but my friend Zach had a tape of it, and the guy was saying like, "I'm a punk, I'm a Nazi punk," and we, there's a possibility that he could have been a Nazi, but like nobody knew, and that was just anything that pissed people off, and that was punk rock.
But
it was
Dead Kennedys had a sing along, and the sing along was Nazi punks, Nazi punks, Nazi punks, fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it was just the guys that kind of came in and wanted to fuck up the pit,
Yeah. I mean, it was just people that were, like any name back then was totally like the hard-ons. It was just like there was like that was that name hadn't been taken by like 50 people on Google yet, or
That's
or whatever.
funny.
And that's like the way you can find out like if a name is not taken yet is Google or Facebook. Is Google that name, and if it comes up, then yeah, it's taken. But I mean, back then it was a lot smaller, but I think one of the cool things about like going to Fallout 2 that I didn't really realize until like kind of the later 80s and stuff was fanzines, and you had one, and Ron Gardapi had one, and just everybody.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere, yeah. And that was kind of like the internet back then.
That was how we communicated.
Yeah, that was
I know, and you'd get on fanzine mailing lists, and we would do 1,500 copies of ours, and it was great because like I brought Suicidal Tendencies to Alaska in the early 80s, and I have them collating with us, because we're collating 1,500 copies, and DOA, I brought them from Canada to Alaska.
That was one of the cool things about Bomb Shelter too, is like when between the videos you would talk about like the Dead Kennedys and Suicidal Tendencies and stuff, and I kind of saw Suicidal Tendencies in the Thrasher magazines and stuff. My mom got me a subscription to Thrasher magazine for like I think like $7 or something for like a whole year back in the 80s and stuff, and that was kind of like one of the first like times that I'd seen some of that stuff. But I mean, a lot of the times you'd be talking about the Dead Kennedys, and I would run and like find a pen and old envelope or something, just write the name Dead Kennedys on there, because I had to go find it or something, and then when you'd find it, it would blow your mind. And sometimes like you'd get stuff like Crass or whatever and stuff, which was cool, but it didn't really like relate to me and stuff.
Yeah.
And some of it was pretty experimental, and I wasn't real experimental back then. I was just all about rage, and I remember like finding DRI's Dealing With It. That album just totally fucking changed me.
Social Distortion.
Oh man, yeah, just some of the best stuff. But I mean, I would have never have known about some of that stuff without resources.
Circle Jerks. I love Circle Jerks. Angry Samoans.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
These are the bands you could scream along with at the top of your lungs. And it sounds crazy too, because like back then, I loved Tom Petty, but he was a different person back then.
Yeah.
It was a different edge kind of to his music. As he aged, his music aged with him, and it didn't get like less good, but it wasn't as crazy as it was when you're singing Refugee.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I don't want to live like a refugee. And you're like in your car. Yeah.
I got that. I got a Circle Jerks Group Sex when I was a kid. It was like the first album I bought with my own money that
That's
was like
funny.
and I had to hide it from my dad. I remember there was a guy in my high school that I was actually talking about with another friend of mine that I grew up with in Malik Terrace, and he like had a bunch of records and stuff, and he would loan me his records, which is weird because dude, I would never loan any
vinyl
record ever.
I would record. I recorded things for everybody. I'd make them cassette tapes because.
Yeah, you're not taking the vinyl.
But now you can just like put all that shit on your computer and just pull it across, dump, drop it on flash drive, and go, here you go. Here's half my fucking library. Enjoy it.
Here's like like my whole record collection could probably fit on like 1 megabyte or something, or a gigabyte or whatever. But
yeah, you wouldn't need a Tera for that.
Yeah. But I remember like just like anything you said was just like, Suicidal Tendencies, go write it down and stuff, and go find out anything you could about it and stuff. And then when you take like 4 buses to get from Malik Terrace to downtown Seattle, escape like broken glass in the street, try not to trip over stuff on your skateboard or whatever, and I mean, Seattle was a totally different place. And you get the time travelers, and you walk in the door and be like, do you have or whatever, and he'd just be like, yeah man, it's like right over there, and then can you put this on or whatever and stuff. So that I remember the guy at Time Travelers, I only had like enough money for like 1 record, I think, and I got Group Sex by Circle Jerks, went home, and my dad hadn't gotten home yet, so I was listening to it in the headphones, and just like
Wild in the Streets.
Fucking God. Just recently, like a couple of years ago, I got to go record shopping for my birthday or something. I got on clear yellow vinyl, I got the reissue of Group Sex and stuff, and it's still just as awesome now as it was back then. I mean, I'm not quite as much of a raging person as I used to be, but I mean,
some of that's not as raging as it used to be either. Like, listen to like any Sex Pistols, it sounds like like elevator music, or like
Yeah.
you'll be like in Fred Meyer and you're going, is that the fucking Sex Pistols? You know, you're just like, it makes me crazy that they've turned stuff that transformed my life into fucking elevator music.
Yeah.
You know, Devo used to do it, but that was their thing.
Yeah.
You know, to make an album of elevator music.
Or
Yeah.
just
Well, I remember interviewing Keith, like in 84, 85 for the fanzine.
Yeah.
You know, from Circle Jerks, and they had just finished putting an album back together called Golden Shower of Hits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
right.
a good one. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a really good
So
one.
he was playing that for me, and it was crazy because it was at some recording studio we went into, and Hart had just shot a music video there, like one of their first music videos. So the studio was all dressed from their video, and then we went into the recording place, and he's playing all this stuff for me, and then he was kind of a dick, you know, near the end, and I said, hey man, you know, just because I'm this dude from Alaska, you don't need to treat me like a fucking dick, you know. And he must have felt bad because he ended up giving me the test pressing, and it was
Whoa.
2 pieces in the white sleeves, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that one of my favorite, you know, before the TV show, you know, I did the fanzine.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the fanzine really helped me to really find a lot of music that I loved, you know.
Yeah.
And I would always go to like the weirdest parts of any town whenever I traveled, and I would just buy like singles from the bands for, you know, like back then it would be like, do not pay more than $5 for this album.
Oh yeah, I've got a
you
couple
know,
of those. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now that same album, which is one of mine, I've seen selling in Germany for $35. You know,
I have a Minor Threat record over here, the Out of Step, where it actually says don't pay more than $5 or whatever and stuff. I did a Kelly Blue Book thing on it and went through all the details and everything. It's an $800 record.
Ian McKay's a good guy.
It's crazy. I'm just, you know, but yeah, I mean, there's tons of those records, like that Metallica Garage Days one where it said like, you know, 598 EP. You know, you look at eBay and you can't get one for under like, you know, $500 or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I did sell my Smells Like Teen Spirit. It was
Original?
like, yeah.
Oh man.
It was one of the numbered ones. Pavitt actually gave it to me. But I was hurting for rent at the time, you know. I was going through some transitions. I maybe got divorced and all that stuff, and I was looking to see what I had that would, you know, help me pay some bills.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what number it was. I think it was under 200.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean the number of the print
Sure,
of the
yeah,
release, right? So it was weird. It was like sitting really low, under $200, $300. I'm thinking, oh, I thought I would do better than this. And then, like in that last 5 minutes, it just fucking blew up. I think I got $875
Nice.
for it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it bugged me that I had to let it go, but I actually had to let my. I mean, I've released my vinyl collection this past pre-COVID, because I think someone else needs to kind of steward it the next step, and I just didn't have the.
Yeah.
You know, I just couldn't store it any longer.
Yeah.
But there was some great shit, you know, because I had just tons of compilation stuff, and because of the fanzine, you know, you had got a lot of promo stuff that maybe there wasn't as many copies of that. It just kind of went out to see if anybody liked it,
Yeah.
you know.
And that was a cool thing too about like having a zine. I never had a zine, but I had a girlfriend who did, and she would like review, you know, 7 inches here and then here and there or whatever, and it was crazy because like, you know, it's tough enough to get like a like or a subscribe on a YouTube video these days, but it was actually easier to just say like, if you would like your album reviewed, please send to this address or whatever and stuff. And then she'd walk outside and there'd be a box with like, you know, 10 different 7 inches or records in it and stuff. She got all this free stuff all the time. It was awesome.
Well, the nice thing is if you're going to say that you do that and then people trust you to do that, that you have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have to kind of send them copies of what you've done, and because they use those reviews, you know, people use that stuff, and
Sure.
But the thing is, if people start to see that you have a certain flavor and the kind of taste that you have, then you'll get more of those kinds of things. You know, you won't get some of the stuff like you're going, well, why did they send me, you know, like some country album from the label just because I have the relationship with the label.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy like how that was like stronger than the internet, you know, because it's like today it's like you can put an album up on YouTube or wherever and stuff, and you know, I mean, people you know, could just barely like it, you know. I mean, it's hard enough to just get like a like or like somebody to subscribe or put the notification bell thing or something, you know, but like but fanzines were almost stronger than the internet is today. It's really weird, like, because people wanted it more back then than they did. Like today, it's like anybody can just have anything they want, like anytime they want now, and it kind of makes it like not like it's less special, but I mean
a little spoiled. I mean, I'm terrible because it's like I have everything that information wise.
Yeah.
Even if I just have a stupid iPad sitting on my lap,
Yeah.
I have everything that I might have an interest in wanting to know in that moment.
Yeah.
We had to do a little bit more research. We had to track things down. It was, like we would list other fanzines in our fanzine so people could get those other fanzines.
Yeah.
It was just really a kind of any way that we could make, because that's why the web's called the web, because it's all these connections. Well, we kind of had our version of a fanzine web too.
Yeah. Like if you were sick or something like that, you had to go to the doctor. Now it's like, you're sick, you just look at WebMD or something or whatever.
Or your doctor wants to teleconference you. They don't want you to come in.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't. You can just stick the microphone down here. How's that?
Any question that I have, like, my wife and I, we do this, like, she'll have a question for me, and I won't completely know the answer for it, so I'll just Google it. I just go, you know what, or vice versa. Like, oh, you have a question? Oh, just Google it. And it's so easy now.
Well, my mother-in-law and her husband, whenever they have a debate, who goes in and does all the mediates it.
Google is the
Siri.
Oh, Siri. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Siri's
pretty handy for seniors.
She's the judge.
And she has such a sweet voice. You don't want to like punch her, even if you're wrong.
No, you can't fight with Siri. She doesn't lie. There's no lying with Siri. Or
you don't
Google.
have to fact check her.
It just is what it is, and if you don't like it, fuck it, whatever. I mean, make up your own little thing or something like that. But anyways, something I was gonna ask you was, I know I talk a lot about like bomb shelter and some of the other things that like got me to knowing about punk rock and stuff. But I mean, everybody's got like a story or like a background, or maybe if you have any cool stories about the way that maybe you had found punk rock way back in the dinosaur age or whatever.
Well, in 76 and 77, because that's my era for high school, I both summers I worked for YCC, which is Youth Conservation Corps, and that lets you go out in the woods and do stuff. But you have to remember, I grew up in Alaska, so being in the woods was like something that you want to do.
You really were in the woods.
Yeah, because you're putting in trails and doing stuff like that, and cleaning up after fires and things like that. But in the process of that, I had been an entertainer since I was 10 or 11 years old. I had been like a clown, and so that's kind of how I kind of made my income, was doing little kids' birthday parties and other kinds of activities. And so of course I'm working at a toy store called Clowntown, because that's what I did after I finished the summer job for YCC. I get this job at Clowntown because I'm already a clown, and I think that that's going to get me the job there. And it gets me the job there because they do want to have an active clown showing up at the store regularly. And if you can do everything else too, like stock shelves and inventory and empty the trucks and load and work as a cashier, you're going to be the perfect clown. So I was there, and at that time I was already starting to play with a lot of stuff. Like so I probably had like a mullet haircut then, kind of spiky on the top and a little long in the back.
In the front, party in the rear.
But this was still 1978, so it hadn't really been anything. It was like a really interesting cut with a little bit of bleached here and there, and I was wearing my hair bleached out and stuff. So I ended up working at this toy store, and then the owners decided they wanted to run the store because their intention was to close the store. So they wanted to just jack up the prices, sell as much of this shit off as they could in the Christmas rush, and then shut this thing down. Well, they're not going to tell the employees that because, you'll leave. So anyway, they started this process of changing the way everything went, and I'd been running that store for like a year and a half. So having them come in and kind of change things up was like irritating. You've been the manager, you never even had to deal with these fucking people, So they called me into their office one day, and I thought they were going to tell me they were going to leave and leave it up to me to take care of it, but instead they they let me go on December 1st, which doesn't make any sense at all for me to be fired on December 1st from a toy store. But I was in a mall at the time, so I went down maybe 5 stores down, and there was a record store, and they needed the help for Christmas, so they hired me with the intention of maybe keeping me around for a little while. But during that time, they also sold components, stereos and speakers and stuff like that, and they realized that I could actually sell this stuff. And so they decided to keep me around because I could sell this stuff, but a lot of it was old stock, They just wanted to purge it, and anything they could get for it really was make them happy. But in the time I was there, which wasn't real long, a few months, I started seeing, we had cassettes and albums, and there was a bunch of cassettes that just weren't selling. And we're talking 1977, 78. And those albums that weren't selling were B-52's first album, that was 1977. Talking Heads' first album, that was 1977. Graham Parker and Sparks, I think that was 77. Devo, 77. So I started snagging these cassettes to listen to them. And I fucking loved them. And so then I started looking for more things like that, because to me, Devo was speaking a different language. I'm just a spud boy looking for that real tomato. And B-52s, they were saying, I'm living in my own private Idaho. And I'm thinking, yeah, me too. So there was just things that I loved about it because it was like they were playing with words. They were doing really colorful things. And they weren't big, important people at the time. Talking Heads' first album, 1977. What a great fucking album. Great, great, great album. And people didn't really figure those guys out until like almost the 90s. And David Byrne now, look at him. He's like, he's an innovator. He's a genius in the music world. And same with Brian Eno. And Brian Eno, I still love that, even though he used to spook me out with his album. But, Talking Heads played a lot of his music, and everybody started thinking of them as Brian Eno's band, and David Byrne was like, we're not going to have that. We're the Talking Heads. And then, oh my gosh, and then all of those guys did their own thing, because I remember I went to Escape from New York tour. It was the Ramones, Blondie, Jerry Harrison and the Casual Gods, and Tom Tom Club. Dude, wow. That was a great show. And that was a great show. And they would draw straws as to who went first, and Joey Ramone was fucking a giant, like 6.5 feet tall, and you see set the microphone up about 7 feet high, and then he would come out, reach up above his head, grab the microphone, fall to one side, let his foot step out, and it looked like a freaking tripod with his head at the top. and then you'd hear him, and the drummer's like, 1, 2, 3, go! And that whole fucking set would start, and their songs were 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes for the long ones. It was awesome.
No breaks in between. Just like they would
just the count off if they needed it.
And then the next one, and then the guitar would ring out, and then it was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's I only get to see the Ramones like twice.
Oh, I love the Ramones.
Man, it was just like the best shows ever. There wasn't any there was like one part where I think where Joey Ramone was talking about how they got to be in the Pet Sematary movie, and he'd say like, any of you guys seen that movie, Pet Sematary?
It was Rock and Roll High School when I saw him.
Yeah. He'd say, well, perhaps you know this tune. It's called Pet Sematary. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it was just into the next song. And then it was, there wasn't any bullshit about them. They didn't want to talk to anybody. They didn't really get heckled and yell shit back at people like they do now, or whatever. It's just like they just play their songs.
The kids wants to stop glue.
And they would just do their shows.
Everyone wants something to do.
They would just do their shows like it was their jobs.
Yeah,
it was great. Yeah. But anyways, back to
Back to what?
Back to whatever you were doing.
Live.
I think I interrupted you.
No. I remember when I first moved here, all I wanted to do was go to live shows, and that was 87. All I wanted to do was go to live shows, and the first one I finally get to is Jim Carroll Band, and I'm so excited, and I get to the door, and I fucking left my wallet at home.
They didn't let you in?
No, I didn't have any money or an ID.
Oh.
And it just really sucked because it was like, okay, I got to work my way all the way back up to Capitol Hill somehow because someone dropped me off on their motorcycle. And
where was the show
It was downtown by where the Vogue used to be, but there was a different club about a block up. I can't remember that one.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up getting to my first show, which is now Romeo's Pizza down by the University Bridge, but it was a different club upstairs.
Yeah.
Up on the top floor was a club, and it was the Squirrels opening up for Dead Milkmen.
Nice.
I fucking love the Dead Milkmen.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Taking retards to the zoo and bitching Camaro.
Bitchin' Camaro.
That's
Donuts
good
in your lawn.
Yeah. The first actual like official show that I ever got to go to was the Accused in GBH out at Natasha's in Bremerton in 1987. God, that just blew my mind. I mean, I'd seen like some little garage shows around town, like kids like had bands and stuff, and they would kind of put on their own little hardcore shows and stuff, or just like arty whatever. They didn't really know what they were kind of doing or anything back then, but then they
but you felt like you were going to a live music gig.
Yeah. and then after that I just discovered places like you'd see the Accused and then just be like, where are they playing next? And then you'd see a flyer and it was like the OK Hotel, and it was like, oh well, okay. And then it started, it was like connect the dots or something, and eventually you were going to shows like every week or something like that. Or there was like one time where I was standing outside the OK Hotel waiting to see Jello Biafra do like a spoken word thing, and I met Eddie Vedder in line, and he the pre huge Pearl Jam rock star thing or something like he was just some surfer guy. We were talking for I don't know, like about an hour, and then we didn't get in. We got in like there was like 4 people ahead of us, and the guy just cut the line off and said like it's sold out and everything. And,
oh my gosh!
And but he was a nice guy, and then he gave me a ride about halfway back to like where I was living at, and then gave me a tape, like a demo of like that song Alive, and then like something else on the other side. And if I still had that tape, I don't know how much it'd be worth, but yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah, just going to shows all the time and stuff was just learning about
the OK Hotel. I love that place.
Oh yeah.
I shot Coffin Break there for a thing that we did.
Shot him?
Yeah. Well, we did a video shoot there.
Oh, I think you mean
for
you shot
Twin
him,
Tone Records.
Like you shot at him with a gun. No, I'm just kidding.
And no. And that was a crazy ass gig because when you're at OK Hotel and the floor starts to sag from everybody jumping and stuff, it gets a little scary. But I was even more crazy because I was determined to get these shots that I wanted from the pit.
Yeah.
So I got all these people standing around me. I'm holding this equipment, standing on a fucking folding chair.
Oh, jeez.
Because I just needed to get this shot, and they're just like pushing people away from the chair because I'm in the pit.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And then I think the craziest show that I saw there was Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper. And that one, I was pretty sure we were going into the basement. That floor was like, it felt like it was dropping a foot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Like nowadays, like I deliver pizza for Domino's on my bicycle down in Seattle and stuff. And sometimes like there's all these old places you go to, like that people have no idea where they're standing. Like there's the OK Hotel is still there, but it's like these kind of low rent condos, and the person will come down and get the pizza or whatever. And I'll start talking about the OK Hotel, and they just have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm like, right where you're standing is like
the epitome of
like Seattle and like punk and I mean there's so much. I mean Napalm Death played there like one time. It was fucking so loud there. I thought my face was bleeding. It was so loud. but it was totally amazing. I saw like so much cool stuff there. But this one lady let me in the door once, and I got to go up the little stairs, and the cafe isn't there, but those tables like right in the front doors are still there. And so she let me in. I walked up to the back, and there's
is that the lobby of the condo now?
The lobby, yeah, it's the lobby of the condos, but it looks just like the OK Hotel did.
Oh, cool.
And then but you go in the back, and there wasn't a back, like it was just a wall.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they filled it in with concrete or whatever, but I mean it was a concrete wall in front of you, and it was as if it didn't like ever really exist. But I mean, we all knew that it did, like that was there, like you'd have to go up and walk in through that curtain, and then you're inside, you walk to the right and there's stage and everything. Yeah, it's just weird, like just the weird places that are still
Well, the
there,
evolution of all of this too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you've lived here long enough to see all the changes in Seattle, and it's like a lot of these places were just like nooks and crannies, especially down in Pioneer Square, where you'd like go down into some just scary ass basement, but then it'd be a great show. But when you take a whiz, you're standing in everybody else's urine to do it, you know, or vomit,
Yeah.
and. You know, and some of the places that I seen shows, I just, you know, they didn't seem safe, but it didn't matter at the time because it was like, what? There's a show, let's go see it. And I remember some of the things from my fanzine days that really made me love a lot of the, you know, what ended up becoming alternative rock. But like I used to love, well, I always loved Mudhoney.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? But they had a cassette only release called Mr. Eep. I don't know if you ever heard that one.
I don't think so, no.
Well, I would play the song over and over again, and it was like Mark Arm singing, "I'm a Mohawk man, I got a Mohawk man," and the song was called Mohawk Man. I fucking loved it. So that was like this cassette I played all the time. Mr. E probably got great reviews from me at one point.
Yeah.
But then when you get to see Mudhoney, you know, that was great, and they actually opened up the EMP when it was EMP before it was Mopop.
Yeah.
And they did the opening night performance for that, and they played Sonic's set.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I think my favoriteest band I ever seen at that venue is the Residents.
Huh.
Do you know them?
I'm not sure.
Well, the Residents did a bunch of mini movies in the early '80s. They did like these 1-minute movies. And oh my gosh, that was like a great show. So look up Residents and Snakefinger.
Yeah.
Snakefinger covered that, you know, Man's World. You know, which is really, their version is really, really cool. It's a man's world, but it's kind of that.
Kind of like James Brown?
No, not even.
Oh, it wasn't like James.
No, totally more experimental, because these guys were like some of the early filmmakers of the punk rock scene.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Devo went to school to make film, but they figured out they could make more money making music.
Yeah.
And then they used all their film skills to make the music videos that were their weird concepts and stuff.
Yeah, they had a lot of weird stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I love them. My wife took me to their 25th anniversary tour. I sang every song.
Wow.
Yeah.
They just played at Punk Rock Bowling just like this last year, or just like a few months ago. I had a ticket and I just couldn't get there. I tried to give it away a couple times, and you know, I don't know. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I got to see him. I got to see him a few times, just like saw him in Portland once, and then once out at Marymore Park and stuff, and that was pretty cool. They still put on a really great show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Totally.
Yeah.
You said Blue Man Group?
I have not seen Blue Man.
You know, you're a drummer. You would fucking love them. Everything about them is percussion.
Percussion, yeah.
All percussion. It's a whole percussion show.
Nice.
Yeah, and I seen them 3 or 4 times now. But one time I saw them opening for Bowie at the Gorge, and that was a great fucking show. It was Busta Rhymes, who totally disappointed me. Then Blue Man Group came on, and they were fucking amazing. And then Bowie came on, and it finished with Moby.
Nice.
Yeah, but Bowie was great. It was his birthday. Comes back out for an encore. Does 3 songs on acoustic guitar, all B-sides of Elvis singles.
Wow. Nice.
And he was a fun guy because he gets you talking to him. He's like, "Ask me what's my name," and you go, "What's your name?" He goes, "David, isn't it?" You know, and then he has everybody going, "Isn't it?" And then he makes us say something, and the rest, you know, you got like thousands of people going, "Isn't it?" Dave, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So he was really, really great.
Yeah. There's like another place I think is kind of fun is delivering to the State Hotel on 2nd and Pike. There's the people that have you go into the lobby and stuff, and the people that work in there.
Is that the Neptune? Is that above? Is that above the? What am I thinking? What's on 2nd and Pine there? What theater? Paramount? No. What's the other theater downtown?
Oh, is it the Showbox?
No.
That's on 1st and Pike.
Yeah, why can't I recall the stupid theater? It's the second most popular one right there downtown.
Not the Paramount.
Well, there's the Paramount, then there's the other one, which is
The Moore Theater?
Yeah, the Moore.
The Moore is on Stewart and 2nd and Stewart.
Second and Stewart, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great place for shows.
Oh yeah.
And it's got
Plus
a
you're
great
up on
hotel
that
there
top-
too.
That top level there is a little sketchy. Like it just, I don't know. I don't know about everybody else, but like every time I've been up in that upper level, I get sort of like that weird vertigo thing where your knees start knocking a little bit and stuff because it's so
the angle's
high
so
up
steep.
and the seats. I mean, it's great because the seats in front of you, the people are down like kind of near your ankles.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So you're not like having to look around somebody's head or anything.
You
like
felt
that,
like if
but
you
it's-
tumbled, you would keep going.
Oh yeah, you would just
Over
go
the
right
tops
over
of
the edge or
everybody.
something. Yeah. my wife and I went and saw Pee-wee's Big Adventure on the big screen there, and then Pee-wee Herman came out, or sorry, what was his name in real life?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Fuck it. He came out.
He's still Pee-wee to me.
Yeah, he's still Pee-wee. He came out and was talking and stuff, and you couldn't have you had to put your cell phone in these fucking weird lock bags or something, and I was just like, what's the big deal? It's just fucking Pee-wee Herman, and then that was the last thing we saw before the whole pandemic, and we thought the world was gonna end and everything, and everybody's gonna get this thing and it's gonna kill everybody, and that was gonna be the end of the thing, and so that was pretty weird. That was the last time I'd been in the Moore Theater, but State Hotel on 2nd and Pike. I went in there one time and I was talking to the one of the people in one of the concierges, and they had no idea what Streetwise was, and I was telling them it was a documentary made in 1981, I believe, and released in 82. It's like one of my favorite movies. I mean, there's just like. It's just like about street kids in the 80s and stuff and hanging out and kind of like that one, 2 or 3 block radius, anywhere from like First to
Down around where the old Vogue was.
Yeah.
What Belltown is now, basically.
Yeah, Belltown. Yeah. But the State Hotel is where time travelers used to be on 2nd and Pike, and so every time I go in there, or like say a guest will be like asking me about Seattle stuff, and I'm just like, where you're standing right now is like where all this went down. Like, go upstairs, get on the smart TV in the hotel, and find Streetwise, and you'll it's fucking blow you away.
Well, so many of the things that really made Seattle really cool during the late 80s, early 90s, they're all gone. The shoe stores, the clothing stores, the record stores. It's unfortunate. But, there still is a lot of good vinyl stores around, that have a lot of people that come to them. They're limited now.
Yeah.
There's a couple Tower.
Left. Yeah, there's no Tower Records anymore. It's kind of a bummer. And then I think they moved over to the other side of the street where they were at, and then when Tower got bought out by Silver Platter's all right. There's one down here in Soto area. I think there's a couple more that are like starting to pop up here and there. There's a really good one in Burien.
There's one in Fremont.
Yeah. There's a couple of good record stores. I mean, what's the one in Fremont? It's like Jive Time or something.
Jive Time, yeah.
Jive Time, yeah. That's
the only place that has my trading cards, actually.
Yeah.
Because somebody had some sets and decided they didn't want to take care of them anymore, and they ended up there.
Yeah.
So.
Zion's Gate up on Capitol Hill is like a really good place. That guy's got everything. I mean, the metal section there is just enormous. Like the stoner metal doom sort of section is just enormous. That guy's got everything. And colored vinyl, which I have a huge heart on for. Like
picture disc was my favorite.
Oh my God,
the Frankenfurter picture disc from Rocky
absolutely.
Horror.
My record collection, I probably have like maybe 10 black records. Everything else is colored or picture disc or whatever and stuff. I got a pretty big Metallica section with got pretty much like every. I don't have the original presses, but I have the Walmart reissues that are colored, and then the remastered ones, and then the bootlegs.
That's funny. The Walmart reissued in colored vinyl.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it sounds great. I mean, it's all remastered, and Metallica actually bought all the rights back to their songs and have their own record label now and stuff that they pretty much just release their own stuff. But
sounds like a Gene Simmons kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's totally.
I used to rep the Kiss stuff when I was like when Bomb Shelter went off the air. I ended up doing sales, but it was all rock and roll tour merchandise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, for about 30 labels. So it was everything, all the classic rock bands all the way through to whoever was happening. And that was like at the time when Pearl Jam Stickman was like the hottest shirt you could get. And then it got so popular they decided to take it off the market so you couldn't buy it anymore.
Yeah. So something I was kind of wondering if there was ever any plans to maybe have a resurgence of bomb shelter videos, like with new bands or maybe even a new
Well,
show?
there's like those other shows right now. Like what's that one that's on late night? It's like Band in Seattle. And I think they're doing a really good job of putting some live stuff on the air and introducing people to new acts. It's not the same edgy stuff, but I think it still has a lot of alternative flavor to it, And I've watched it a few times, and they mix it up, and I like that. And right now, as much as it might be a cool thing to do something like that, it's just that, with all the technology, everybody thinks they're a video star, everybody thinks they're an influencer, everybody thinks they're a recording artist. So for me, the way I would deal with Bomb Shelter is I would like to just take everything that I have, all the episodes I have, and make them available to people, like you said, for nostalgic purposes, but also for some people to kind of go, oh, that's where that music came from.
Yeah.
Because I know that people they think that they discovered a synthesizer, but they didn't never discover like Gangsters in Neubauten or Gang of Four, or
There's a lot of bands today that have everybody fooled. Like they have, I mean, I won't name names, but
they think they did it first, and they didn't.
There are bands that think that they invented the same sound as the Clash, and they did not.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you know who I'm talking about, you've probably talked to me about it before, if you know me or something. But yeah, it's good to have like a little bit of like a proof
of new bands. Who do you like?
New bands, like punk rock or?
Well, I know that I love 21 Pilots.
21 Pilots, good, yeah.
Some of their new stuff, not so much as I like the older stuff better.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they went a little more poppy.
Yeah.
But I like the first album.
There's a lot of music that I when I was younger, like I would just absolutely reject just from the name, or like because somebody that I knew liked it,
and you didn't like them.
Yeah, I didn't like them. So
I still love everything by Green Day.
Yeah, Green Day is kind of funny.
Well, that's why I like them.
Yeah.
See, again, you have to remember I was in a band called the Klingons, and our influences are Circle Jerks and Angry Samoans, right? So we're a funny band.
Yeah.
So I do like funny bands, but I also like crazy girl screaming bands too.
Yeah.
I love girl bands because I like to
Bikini
just.
Kill. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I know a guy who's got a Bikini Kill tattoo on his foot.
There's a band I love called Fright Wig.
Yeah.
And I always tried to make sure that any time that I had an opportunity to put on female musicians and female groups that I did.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure everybody got as much equal time as possible on the show.
Yeah. There's a good hardcore band from Sweden, I believe, called Donuts, and it was an all-girl kind of straight edge band from it was on Victory Records. They only put out 2 records, but I always thought they were awesome. Their music still sounds good. I mean, as far as like tough guy, like moshy, like get in the pit and do the kickboxing and all that stuff. I mean, they're still rad. They still won't make me want to like hoods up and whatever and get down and whatever and stuff. I love that stuff, but I don't know. It seems like the last like 15 years or so I've really gotten into like stoner stuff and kind of like the stoner rock and the doom and kind of the darker, slower, like super heavy stuff. And
what was your parents' music?
It was my mom liked a lot of like the Carpenters and stuff, classic rock, which would be classic rock now.
Mine loved the Mamas and the Papas.
Oh my God, yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's good stuff. Judy Collins and stuff. But then she had some other stuff and some really good stuff. And my dad liked a lot of soul and so I mean I liked it all, but I mean it wasn't really mine or whatever. It was just like whatever was available. I always felt like the TV wasn't really on much in our house. Like I think my dad kind of had this unwritten rule that was like, if he was watching TV, it was okay, to watch TV. But like if he wasn't watching it, he'd either like wrap up the cord and put it in his closet or something. He's kind of a dick about it, but but I mean I'm glad that he did that, because like then we went outside a lot, and went out and did stuff. Like we're kids today. I mean, just I mean, I see a lot of kids like at the, out in public, and the kid starts screaming, and then the parent, just
Gives
hands
them an
their
iPad.
phone or an
Yeah.
iPad or something, and then the kid just, it's like the new pacifier and stuff.
What I think makes me crazy is when I see like the kids who are walking a long distance on a flat surface carrying the fucking skateboard. It's like,
Yeah,
use the fucking
ride the fucking
skateboard,
thing.
dumbass. Can you not ride it?
It's
for moving
Exactly.
forward faster.
and maybe do a kickflip on the way.
Yeah, or 360 or walk the dog or some fun, cool shit.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I still got a skateboard,
Yeah.
but it's been really interesting because like all my skateboards ended up at the Mopop Museum because
Yeah.
I had like Tony Alva boards, I had motorized skateboards, I had original roller derbies with loose ball bearing wheels. I had a collection that I
Yeah.
turned over to them. But then I really missed my skateboards, so I got to get on eBay and track me down a nice deck.
Yeah.
So I ended up with Trucker Tracks crypto wheels, but double concave, which feels like insane if you're an
Yeah.
old skater, dude.
Sure.
Because we're used to maybe a couple kicktails, but you don't make the board concave.
Yeah, it's like
I
riding
mean,
a spoon.
you
Yeah.
can make an L turn with a board like that. You don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
have to lift the front wheels off the ground. You just
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I still have one deck just for riding in the driveway.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have a skateboard. It's down in storage. Last time I fell, I was like, I can't fall. I have
I know.
I have to go to work, and I use it's you don't realize how much you need a part of your body until you break it. Like,
I know.
I broke my hand fighting one time when I was younger and stuff, and
Right hand or left hand?
right hand, yeah.
So the one you wipe your butt with?
Oh man, I had to learn how to jack off. I had to, I had to like wear sweatpants and stuff, and slip-on shoes, and I could barely go to my job and stuff, and
With one hand
sucked.
down.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was awful. And then I've never broken my leg. I've blown out my knees a couple of times doing skateboarding or
Yeah, I broke my foot.
fighting when you're drunk in the rain or something, but it's really stupid. But skateboarding is, it's still fun. I like to watch it on TV and stuff. And, my friend Tom, we'll go for like a little longboard adventure or something like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun, as long as you don't get going too fast.
Well, I got a
you can't stop.
longboard, a Hobie longboard right now, and it's got like a stick shift on the front.
Oh, cool.
So it's a longboard with a handle on it, but not like a steering wheel. Just
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a cool wooden deck, and it's bowed up, so you can kind of torque it, and it'll move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a Zooter, which is a really high-tech scooter.
Yeah.
The whole deck is carved aluminum, but it's been designed by engineers so that if you have at least a 3-degree tilt, it will move forward on its own.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's just designed so that it only takes 3 degrees of transition for it to roll.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's like twice the size of a Razor because it's built for guys that are like 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, like real people.
I was doing a music video for my own band in Spokane last summer, and I was hanging on the back of this friend of mine's car, and with this gimbal thing and a GoPro and everything, and I was on this longboard, and then I was just trying to get like good shots of the wheels turning and everything like that. I love film like that. Like I just love and just doing stuff like that.
One of my
you know?
favorite tools for that kind of shit,
Yeah.
wheelchairs.
Wheelchairs. Huh?
Yeah, because you get a wheelchair and then you can just lock your camera in and let someone drive you.
Yeah.
And like if you ever watch our music video, like the Klingons, you can find us CLYNG-ONZ. You can find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
But we have a song called The Environmental Song.
Okay.
So I had this wheelchair and access to the video camera, and we thought, wow, let's make a music video for this song.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are, protect your natural environment, buy your clothes at REI, be a modern girl, be a modern guy. Don't live around a fountain, let's go climb a mountain. If you're gonna have a bash, don't forget to pack out your trash. So we thought, let's call REI and tell them that we're shooting some winter clothing article for a news.
Yeah.
And at the community access, we wanted to talk about winter clothing, and could we come in and shoot in the store? They're like, oh, that would be wonderful.
Wow.
So we shot this music video in fucking REI, We're racing the wheelchair through the aisles. We got a tent up. We're putting on clothes, taking off clothes, boogieing all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a pretty funny song. It's a pretty funny song, but it's a pretty funny video too, because we shot it all over the place. But a lot of pieces take place inside of REI because the song's about people buying their stuff at REI.
Sure.
Yeah. So you got to look that one up.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite videos we shot was called Shooting Winnebagos. And nowadays we would probably be arrested for just half this shit because we didn't realize we were doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
But now someone would find a way to make it wrong.
Oh, sure.
But we went to a rifle range just so we could shoot some bullets shooting off the ground and light up some smoke bombs and run through smoke, to create that mood.
Yeah.
And the guys are shooting. And the weirdest thing was I said, well, we could make a cool video if we had like some AR-15s. And I'm like joking.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, this guy knocks on my door. Hey, man, you're making a video for those guys. They said you needed some gear. And I go, yeah, sure. What do you got? Dumps out 3 fucking AR-15s and all this ammo.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, this is real now.
That's funny how.
And so we go to a rifle range. And we got the AR-15s loaded up, and we're shooting shit just to kind of get shots and stuff, and maybe blowing off the corner of a cliff or something.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, this like stick comes out from behind a tree with something hanging off of it. And we're like, fuck, is somebody up there? And we go, what's going on? And these guys come out from behind the tree and go, what direction are you shooting? And we're like, oh my gosh, there's a direction. Yeah, because it was just like an open field. It's Alaska, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody goes up there to shoot their guns.
Yeah.
So then, one of the lines is, here comes one with a bunch of GIs. Here comes one with some people getting high. Here comes one with that Pat and Uncle Dave. Go ahead, faggot, make my day. Shoot a Winnebago, be all you can be. 38 gauge through a Winnebago tire might just set that fucker on fire. So now we're laying on the edge of the road over these berms, shooting from behind with the guns aimed at Winnebagos that are passing by. Like nobody noticed that we were on the side of the road aiming machine guns at Winnebagos.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot a Winnebago. Be all you can be. And that was the Army slogan at the time. Be all you can be.
Oh, yeah.
The TV ads, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, shoot a Winnebago sets you free. Shoot a Winnebago. Be all you can be.
Yeah, it's weird how the difference between then and now, like it seems like people are doing anything they could to just be like not well, yeah, I guess maybe trying to be offensive and stuff, trying to piss people off and stuff.
Well, it was all schlocky, schlock shock. We wanted to upset people the simplest way. We don't want to send everybody into rage.
No, it wasn't anything that would like get you like in any real trouble with like
that one might.
But I mean now it's like you can't do anything, because somebody's gonna get offended somehow, and it seems like a lot of bands and stuff are kind of reeling back from trying to be offensive to be more kind of like liked, I guess, and
well, sometimes I like the offensive.
Yeah, you like kind of having your
I don't want everybody to like you if I like you.
Yeah, right. So I didn't want to just make this whole episode about just bomb shelter videos and stuff, because I know you do other things and stuff, and I'll go ahead and let you tell the world the other things that you do.
Well, you're a drummer and you're in a band, so you're a creative person, and to not be creative stunts you, and it makes you feel like you're not accomplishing anything. Even if you went out and shoveled snow all damn day, if you didn't get to come home and play drums for a few minutes, you would feel like you were cheated. So as a person who's been an entertainer since I was like 11 years old, and a creative person and a performer, and kind of artsy craftsy and all that kind of stuff, like I sew and do all that kind of stuff, make costumes and things. Because when I left television, I still had my trading cards, and so my trading cards got picked up by a company that I ended up being hired to rep rock and roll tour merchandise. And that lasted for a little while. But I got to see thousands and thousands and thousands of t-shirts. And I always loved t-shirts, like I love to read greeting cards and stuff too. And I've seen every band shirt ever devised, and I know what's popular and what doesn't sell, and what they love in Mexico and what they love in Seattle, So when I left television, I ended up doing a lot of integrated marketing strategies for people because I was a writer. So I was writing content for websites, and that was like 90-something, 93. And what was the coolest part was I tried to figure out what my skill set was. And so I actually got a book on how to understand what it was so that I could actually repitch my new self, whatever that would be. And it ended up being a marketing strategist integrated. Because I already did television, radio, and print, and now I just needed to figure out how to exploit the new mediums like the internet and some of the other things that were happening in the 90s, which was when HTML was beginning to go graphic-based. Well, what ended up happening was I called a company, and they said, oh, we're not hiring, and then they asked me what I did, and I said, oh, I used to have a TV show, and they said, is this Bill? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, maybe you should come in and let us talk to you. Well, all the employees they had were in their early 20s. All the employees that they had were graphic artists that used to love to watch bomb shelter videos. And when they saw me come in for an interview, they were like, you need to hire that guy. And so all these kids who were 14, when they watched my show, when I went off the air, they were in their 20s, and they were all graphic designers, and all of them started pitching me to all their bosses. And all of a sudden, I'm working for multiple companies doing integrated marketing concepts, writing copy, helping them design the architecture of their websites and stuff. And I ended up doing that for about 10 years, but at the same time, as an entertainer, which is what I love, I created a comedy troupe, and we traveled and toured and opened rock festivals in Colorado and traveled to California and stuff. And in time, those kinds of things kind of wore out on me as well, because I was producing big events for like Microsoft and Google and stuff like that. And I think I just had a bad meeting one day when I was probably 50, because I'm older now. And I said, I hate this shit. And so I started volunteering at my food bank, and I ended up being the produce guy there for 8.5 years at the food bank. But when I came in, because I have the speaking persona, and that's what I do for a job, I ended up helping them enhance their annual auction. So I came in and I started hosting the auction, not as the auctioneer, but as the host, the person who takes you from one thing to the next and reads the different things. And they ended up doing better and better and better. And then I brought live music into that too. And it ended up being a place where people didn't want to race out of when it was over, because I shortened the length of it by about an hour and a half. And then there was music, so people sat around and drank and had a nice time. It ended up being cool. So when I was left corporate stuff, I was at the food bank, and about 2 months into that, which was like 12 years ago, someone asked me, they said, aren't you an entertainer? And I said, yeah. And they go, oh, my cousin asked me if I would do their wedding. Do you think you could help me put that together? And I thought, oh yeah, that'll be easy. So I start reading about weddings, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is so fucked up. I can't believe they're still selling this archaic bullshit to all these young couples when you learn about how this is done. And remember, I was a special event producer for 20-something years, maybe more, probably more, plus an entertainer, and I understood how all these things are supposed to work. And you start to see how weddings are, and you think, oh my gosh, what a bunch of bullshit. You got an event planner whose goal is to get you through these activities, and then they can call it a day. But they don't think anything about this being a special event. They just see this as a wedding with a bunch of tasks to complete. And
just a job.
Just a job, yeah. And me, I saw it as a production. And so I'm reading this stuff, and I thought, well, let me just give this a try. And I built a website. And in the first year, I booked 10 weddings with 0 experience. And I wasn't charging a lot at the time, but I was trying to build my portfolio up with pictures and stuff. And now I've got 700 and something weddings under my belt, plus 98 just for my LGBTQIA couples, and a lot of them came from other places to be here. And people who loved my TV show loved me when I was in my early 20s, but now I'm in my early 60s. And I'm in a different place, but the best part is that I get to write these beautiful scripts, because I like to write from scratch and get to know these couples, and I get to perform. And I always tell them up front, I'm going to cry at your wedding, and if you're okay with the one-act play directed live by me, we're going to totally rock this thing. Awesome. And couples are laughing and crying, and I just so basically they understand right up front before they even hire me, this is performance art.
Yeah.
And if you're comfortable with the idea of this being a performance over just an administrative task, then we can play. But if you have a different vision for this, maybe You need to find someone that shares your vision.
Sure.
Yeah. But it's been really great. And during that, I've learned so much stuff with Zoom meetings. And so it's so weird because, you know, when I was on TV for Bomb Shelter, then I started doing some character stuff. Then I ended up producing 36 music videos for a juggling company and won like 16 national awards for children's education in the 90s. People didn't know we were doing that on the side, but that's how we were paying for Bomb Shelter. It wasn't paying for itself. All these other projects were paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so having all that experience of live television and mixing and everything, all of a sudden, you know, COVID comes in and people are starting to do these Zoom weddings, and so it's like, okay, well, if you set it up right, it doesn't look like a meeting. It looks like a multi-camera shoot.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing a couple of these where they call so people that do these are called Zoom conductors. They're conducting the program. But most of them are boring fucks who don't have any television history, don't have any experience as an entertainer. So what they are is they're they're wedding planners who decided to try this technology. And so 15 minutes before the wedding starts, they might post a little card up that says, the wedding starts in 15 minutes, please hang tight, you know? Whereas me, I tell everybody they can log on a half an hour early. Then I come in and I say, hey, the ceremony starts in about a half an hour, so don't forget to get yourself a drink and prepare some food and set it in front of you for the things coming up. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the camera on so you can see how pretty things are, and everybody's kind of coming in and sitting down, but I'll be back with more. And then I go do other things, and then I come back and I go 5 minutes before the wedding, so I'm just giving you a heads up. And
Awesome.
and so I kind of carry the whole show. And then when it's what I call micro weddings, which I've been doing a lot of, where it's maybe there's only 4 guests, but then there's maybe 10 on the computer.
Sure.
So I do the wedding, but when I do the wedding, I can switch cameras when I step out of frame because I'm facing the guests, so you don't see my hand come in and change the camera move when they're reading their vows or something.
Yeah.
And then after that, we move up to a different location where we already have cake and champagne set up, and that laptop just goes up and I follow the couple up, so you get to kind of follow them and everything.
Nice.
You don't just cut and say, wait, we'll be right back. It's like, no, here's what's going on. You should be a part of all of this.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking up the hill, I'm talking into this camera, telling them what's going on, and then set everything up. And then, because I'm running the camera as well, I mean, it's really weird because all my history has put me into this place where I can do this stupid shit easily. And so everybody on the computer is part of a circle, even though we don't really have a circle. Maybe there's 2 people here, 2 people there. And I introduce each one of those people, and they all make their toast to the bride and groom, and the toast.
Oh, cool.
Right? So they're watching it through speaker view, so I'm changing the picture right here. And I can change the picture in such a way that I can add what they call add spotlight. So all of a sudden, here's the picture of your friend toasting, and then I hit a switch, and boom, now there's your friend toasting and the bride and groom watching them toast.
Oh, cool.
So, and that's what everybody else is seeing, right? So I'm giving them a show. And this couple goes, oh my gosh, we were just going to do a wedding in the park, but then we found out about your farm, and then we realized you could do all this other stuff, and all of our Zoom guests had so much fun. They thought it was going to be like a meeting. It was nothing like a meeting.
Cool.
And then I've done the same thing where I buried people.
Oh, I was going to ask about that.
So the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So I set my studio up. In my studio, in my basement, I have a conductor. It's either, these days I have 2 people trained to do that for me now, because we've been practicing a lot. And they can either.
People dying, huh?
Well, we get a lot of weddings.
Oh, weddings.
And what's really cool is I can set it all up at my house, but my friend, he can sit at his house on his laptop and he can run it for me. So he doesn't even have to show up. So now I got a guy in Seattle and a guy in Gig Harbor, so I got them both on call in case I need someone to be my switcher. And then I just set it all up and they run the show from their computer. I start it up and then I give them permission to take the controls, and then they run it. Yeah. It's really cool. And that's why I was saying, you know, like a lot of bands don't realize that if everybody in the band took their cell phone, set it to Zoom, logged on, and then set a little tripod over here, a little mini tripod over here, one on the drummer, one on the singer, one over here, one on the ceiling, and then one person can sit there and mix a live video.
Yeah.
And you can record it and everything. And it can just be a one live song. So,
Yeah, they were doing that a little bit during the lockdown and stuff. I saw one, like a couple of cool ones with like Anthrax and whatever, Lamb of God did one or something like that. They're all pretty cool and stuff. But yeah, that was another thing that's as weird as like the like memorials and stuff. I've probably got like maybe 10 memorials that were put on hold over the lockdown, the COVID and everything like that. It was like somebody would die and it was just like, well, shit, we can't get together. So like, what do? Are we just gonna wait and
Did you have Zoom memorials?
No, I didn't really know how to do that. Some people wanted to get on Zoom, and I just thought it was just kind of weird, and I just kind of didn't really.
For me, it's like because I have buried a lot of people, and I've had a lot of suicides and a lot of cancer victims.
Yeah.
I do have like all the things I perform these days have a concept.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's an intro and a way in and a way out, and then the content becomes the new parts that you build for that specific event.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the hardest memorial service that I've ever had, it was about 300 people at that one. And they're big sometimes, 300, 400 people.
Jeez.
But the program comes and I look at the program and it just hurt my heart because this was a guy that I married a year ago.
Oh, jeez.
And he committed suicide. And the program that I'm looking at has the picture of me that I saw taken just after I finished tying his tie.
Wow.
And I'm burying this guy. And they'd been together for 5 years, and the family went off to Europe for a couple weeks, and he opted not to go. And while they were gone, he hung himself.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I've had other suicides which were crazy, because you're doing a memorial service, like a live one.
Yeah.
And you're leading this thing. And you're setting this whole thing up, and you're doing all the introductions and welcoming everybody. But for me, if you call me, I always say, if you hire me to do this for you, all your friends will be laughing their asses off. And that's
Cool.
the first line that I say to people on the phone. And most of their responses are, that's exactly what we want.
Good.
And so when guests arrive, I have a little questionnaire, and it has 3 questions. How did you know when the deceased, whatever their name was happy? What did their laugh sound like? Do you have a story you would like to share about them? If so, please write your own introduction. Then I cold read these answers between introductions of guests. And then the people that were afraid to come on stage, I walk down into the group with a microphone and I go, well, Tom and Bill said they had a story about John they would love to share. Tom and Bill? And they kind of wave, and I take the microphone. They stand up wherever they are and they tell their story. And I've had a lot of gay men I've buried. And one of them was like, one of the things we loved about John was he knew where the best underwear parties were. And people just busted up laughing, and he goes, and if he thought it wasn't going to be a fun underwear party, he would buy tickets to another so we could leave early. People are like, what the fuck is an underwear party? And then and the parents were, the parents didn't support their son's lifestyle. So when he did pass away, they held a memorial for him in his own town in Tri-Cities, but didn't invite any of his friends.
Oh.
And his friends call me from Texas and San Francisco and say, we want to do a public memorial service for our friend John at the, the town hall.
Oh, okay.
350 people showed up for that one.
Wow.
And the parents weren't going to come at all. And then they decided 2 days later that they would show up, and they came, and they didn't want me to introduce them or recognize them. But,
He'd just do it anyway.
I did. I said, I want everybody in this room to find time to visit them after this is over.
Sure.
And tell them how much you loved and adored their son.
Absolutely.
And what your relationship was, because these people were afraid of these other people.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're pouring champagne and mixing drinks and eating little canopies, because it was a beautiful, service. And people would come up to me and they go, John would just love this.
Yeah.
And I had one where I buried this kid, and he was a white kid, but he was adopted by a black family.
Uh-huh.
And so his memorial service says, this big tagline was a picture of him that says, I'm black and I'm proud.
Nice.
Because he would just sing that all the time, because it was a song, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he died of suicide too. But so there's like 200 people, and we're packed into this little storefront for this one, and I've got his urn with his ashes, and all these candles are set up, and I'm doing this little talk, and a little bit while I'm talking, and his nieces, who are like 4 and 5 years old, come over, and they goes, we're not on the schedule to talk, but we want to say something about our uncle. And I said, okay, honey, just no problem. Give me your name. And they give me their name and
Cool.
introduced them. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble on this story.
No.
But at the end, what was so funny was like all the families doing like group photos with their cell phones. And it's like, 30, 40 people all up with the urn. and taking pictures and stuff. And one of the grandpas comes over to me and he says, "I know this might look a little unusual." And I'm like, "No, not even," but it was. And he goes, "But the only time all of us have a chance to get together is for weddings and funerals."
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I hardly see anybody anymore. Like, I mean, yeah, I got like my band guys, that I see, and I see my coworkers and stuff. And sometimes, we'll meet for, if somebody has like an event, like a Taco Tuesday or something, or a show or something. I've been to a few shows lately, like just before COVID. I went to like a hardcore show. I didn't know a single person there. I was just like, it was totally bummed me out. And then
Didn't recognize anybody, huh?
yeah, not a single person there. I was just there. It was just like the old guy and then like a bunch of kids or something.
That's pretty funny.
It was okay, I guess. It was the new generation or something. But I mean, there's a lot of people that don't really go out anymore, or they just got like maybe jaded or something.
Well, I just think that we weren't feeling it right yet.
Yeah.
Like I know my daughter's boyfriend's a drummer, and their band came through 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's just a touring drummer with the artist.
Yeah.
And Adam Melchor. And it was interesting because you would have loved this. So we got two people that are really hot on Instagram, and they're traveling and they're touring. And one's name was Lexi Jade, and she's like 19 years old. And then she was opening for Adam Melchor, and it was at Chop Suey. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. It's interesting because since COVID, a lot of the clubs have started to schedule like the way the theaters schedule shows, where doors open at 7, first artist on at 8, second one on at 9:15. We're out of here by 10:30, right?
Yeah.
So the clubs are closing earlier because they realize they've made as much money as they're going to make.
Yeah.
They don't need to hold the opening act until midnight. People are going to leave. So anyway, I'm thinking, well, and personally, my thoughts, because from the old experience of everybody making you wait until midnight for the lead headliner, I'm thinking, well, shit, we're going to go there at 7. And when's this guy coming on? I want to see this because I want to support my daughter's boyfriend, and I want to see the show because I've been invited and I think it'll be great. And we get there at 7:30, 8 o'clock. The fucking acoustic guitar player walks out, starts playing the first notes, and she comes out, and opening acts aren't allowed to have a drummer because they can't be louder than the headliner.
Yeah.
So she's singing all to acoustic stuff, but she's doing a lot of her stuff from TikTok and things like that because they're those people that have like 1.5 million followers.
Yeah.
But when we walked in that door at 7:30, 7:40, fucking place was packed with under 21. All girls, teenage girls came to see this girl, right?
Cool.
I was blown, dude. I was blown. And we're in the 21 and over section, which is a little higher up.
Yeah.
And then when Adam came on, both of them, people were like singing all their songs. It's like, I don't know these people because I haven't really followed that. But
Yeah.
it was really interesting to see the power that they have with their social media.
Sure.
Because he had a gig in Portland a few days later, and he decided that he would just do a coffee shop stop in the middle of the afternoon and do a 1-hour set.
Sure.
Not announced, just on his social media.
Yeah.
And they showed a cutaway of that. There had to be 150 people packed into that coffee shop for that set. Yeah, it was crazy, and it was really cool.
Yeah. But it's weird though, because like I feel like maybe some people, and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, there's shows like just about every night in the city that I like and should go to, but I just just kind of not feeling like going all the way downtown or whatever and stuff. But like there was, and COVID happened, the lockdowns and everything like that, and bands were doing like those Zoom videos and stuff and whatever, and I was like, is this really like how it ends? Is this watching Zoom videos and stuff, watching fucking Zoom videos of like your friends or something, But then it was like once shows were kind of back on, there was like this show underneath the First Avenue Bridge. It was like this big death metal show, and it was like there was easily 1,000 people there. Like it was there were so many people there, and it was just like, wow, this is crazy, and but I mean, it's weird how like people nowadays, like we don't see each other unless it's like at a funeral or a wedding or something. It's kind of sad, but I understand.
Well, I think that COVID made a lot of people a little antisocial, but as terrible as it was
a reminder of like, don't take anything for granted, because it can be over snap of a finger. It can all be taken away.
Well, and also though, but I think it gave everybody a chance to breathe.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like every time it's just like work, and you don't have a chance to stop work because you're still trying to go home, do your own thing, and then get back to the job.
I try to go to pretty much everything that I like. Good stoner doom show or something. I'm always down to go to that or whatever. I'm just, it's just good to like go outside again, and even if I'm riding my scooter in the rain or something to a show or back
Yeah, I
home or
walk my
something.
dog twice a day, and I think that my dog totally saved me.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have got up and walked
Yeah.
3 miles a day every day
Yeah.
since through this whole thing.
Yeah. I definitely gained a little bit of extra weight, and I don't know. I got to do like some Uber Eats and stuff, and that was fun. It was just good to get out of the house sometimes and just go downtown and be like the
Drive around, yeah.
only person on a scooter next to like the cops and the other delivery guys or something. That was pretty much downtown for a while. It was weird. It was a ghost town. There was like no traffic. There was, you could like stop in the middle of like Fifth Avenue and just like, it was just silent.
But when the traffic came back, it came back hard.
Oh yeah.
Because like just getting to your place, 10 miles, it was almost an hour.
Yeah. I had to go up to Ravenna the other day from South Park. Took me almost an hour and a half. It's like, fuck, dude. As much as like the shutdowns and stuff were scary and a little like lonesome, you felt kind of like a castaway. At the same time, it was like, dude, you could be downtown in like a couple minutes.
Well, I know I got gigs at Salish Lodge, and sometimes it takes me 45 minutes to get to I-90.
Yeah.
And I was getting to Salish Lodge in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It's crazy. Yeah. But I think that was probably one of the big lessons for me was just to not take anything for granted, because like all the things that you're used to and make you happy are gone, and you can't go to the record store anymore. I ordered a lot of stuff on eBay and stuff, which I still like doing. I like you just type in like stoner rock colored vinyl, and like a million things pop up and stuff, and they show up at your door. They keep you happy. You listen to them. It brings you joy or whatever. But then it's like that was like the weirdest thing. It was like when Zion's Gate Records was closed for a while, and that really bummed me out. I didn't know if they were gonna make it through the other side. And then when they opened up on Record Store Day, like I was just I couldn't. Like my last birthday, I had a bunch of people meet me there and stuff, and we just all we're talking about records, talking about bands and music and all that stuff. It was like one of the best days ever. Like then went down the street and had a couple beers together and stuff, and everybody was showing each other their records and stuff like that, and and that was really cool. But that was a scary year. Fuck 2020.
Yeah. Well, even I put together our picture, our holiday picture, because both of my daughters and my daughter's boyfriend were in town for 3 days, so we shot some group photos. But when we do group photos, it's like, okay, everybody does the best zombie pose on the count of 3,
Sure.
so everybody looks all dead and contorted. So that's on the front of our holiday card. and then the back of the card was a nice normal picture, but I put black bars over everybody's eyes.
Oh, yeah.
My wife made me take it off, but that's how I started it originally. And it just said that we hope to see more smiling faces in the future. And I thought it was funny to black out the eyes and only
Sure.
let you see the smiling faces, but she thought that was weird.
Kind of kitschy, like some of those old Dead Kennedys records or
Yeah, exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
But the front's still good because it's got, a couple of like stupid ass poses. Like the worst pictures of all is the 2 we put on the front.
Yeah.
The worst of all of them. Because we voted, and that was what everybody voted for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think your COVID project was collecting vinyl. My COVID project was designing an online T-shirt store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tracy just kind of got into that. She has
Oh,
something
good.
called Red Bubble or something like that. And
Yeah.
has some cool stuff. She got really into this like acrylic pouring art that it's pretty psychedelic looking and stuff, and then she took some of the pictures from that and then turned it into a store, and it's really cool.
You'd be surprised how much like abstract art sells on eBay.
Yeah.
Because I was looking for it one time, and I found a bunch of stuff that little kids had done on like 8.5 by 11 paper, and they were trying to sell it for $15.
Yeah.
And chances are they were probably selling some of that.
Sure.
And I sold a bunch of paintings that I did. I did a bunch of like pop art nudes,
Yeah.
like 2-color nudes.
Cool.
And I sold them everywhere, all over the world. I couldn't believe it. Like, what? You're going to pay me $85 to send this to Australia? Okay. Well, I think the craziest thing is that, when I went off the air, there was no email, there was no internet, and I still get fan mail, and people track me down, which is really interesting. And they tell me things like, you changed my life, which is really interesting. Because I don't know how I did that, but I think that I maybe introduced them to some things that they already wanted to know more about.
Sure.
They just couldn't find it. And I said, here it is,
Yeah. Absolutely.
And those kinds of things make me feel pretty great about, what I did with the TV show. These days when I watch it, especially like, you dubbed a bunch of stuff for me, you digitized some things for me, so I've had a chance to really look at it. And, on one level, some of it feels so dated and so boring and so stupid, but that's only if you compare it to what is possible now.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to what was possible then, it's groundbreaking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's the thing. And so as much as sometimes I look at the quality of it and everything, because you can see some of those shows I didn't even I couldn't even like type the name of the band. You just hear me do a voiceover, and here's some GBH live in concert, and just as the music starts, because we didn't have that resource. And in some of the other episodes where you see letters and things crawling across the screen, that's just me taking two pieces of plastic and kind of pulling it really softly over each other, because I didn't have the ability to do character generation.
Yeah.
And I would go to Kinko's and I would have all the names of the shows printed on clear plastic, and then I would cut it into little slivers, and then we would put it on this thing and try and project it over the video. So if I had a typo, I was like, fuck it, gotta live with that, and just put it on wrong.
Sure.
Even when I said bands and names wrong, sometimes we were just too tight on. Like some of the stuff that you dubbed, I'm watching it, and then it goes all the way to the end of the tape, and then something else starts, and it's like, see, that's a bunch of breaks we dubbed over because we needed stock. We just didn't have it,
Yeah.
It was always whatever we could just get by with, and that's what that. So for me, Bomb Shelters was always punk rock. It was like, no matter how you sliced and diced it, it was like really a true punk rock concept, because it was totally DIY.
Yeah.
On the shoestring budget. And the reason there was a shoestring budget was because that's the way all of us were working, and everybody had a different medium. Some people were doing vinyl, some were playing their musical instruments, and I was trying to expose the people that had got to that next place where they had a video.
Yeah.
And I was being really liberal with it too. It's like, if you gave it to me on half inch, if I could transfer it into the right format, I would play it.
Yeah.
So try to give everybody an opportunity to have some airtime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. Like, that's one of the great things about it was like you just never know who you're reaching or something. Like, sometimes if you get like down about it or something or whatever, like, I mean,
it's true. You don't know who you're reaching.
There's definitely like somebody who needs to see it or hear it or something. So I mean, there's definitely been times where like I've been not so much like in bands or anything. But I mean, like, you just, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes you get a little weary of it or whatever and stuff. You don't think anybody's really listening or something. Like, I mean, there's bands like Sick of It All who are just just normal guys from New York who just never stopped doing what they love doing, which is playing hardcore. And they've influenced like a whole genre and stuff, and a whole like everybody and stuff. I mean, there's been times where I've just walked up to like I mean, I'm not like real like amazing friends with them or anything, but I mean, they know me and stuff whenever they come to Seattle and stuff. And Armand, the drummer, is just like probably one of my biggest influences and stuff. And I've told him before, and he just you just never know, and that was the great thing about back when Bomb Shelter Videos was on was just exposing people to something that they couldn't just like click on or something, so
yeah, no, and I loved the fact that if you saw it on a flyer, chances are you'd see it on our show.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah
Like I think there was a band called Butt Trumpet or something that I saw on a flyer one time, and I had no idea what it was, but I just thought it was the funniest name. Sure enough, there was a video on Bomb Shelter Videos. I was like, oh, dude, I saw that flyer like last week or something. I thought that was cool, but yeah.
Well, I thought I could remember all the bands on the show, and I know that I can't because I've watched like some of the reviewed some of the playlists and this list. I don't remember some of them.
Sure.
From which is really interesting because I there was times when I was coming up really short. Like I knew that I had to shoot 5 shows that day, and I didn't have enough videos to shoot 5 shows.
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes I put a lot of things on, or I would do a theme, like I do a heavy metal theme, which didn't necessarily fit my normal theme,
Sure.
but the artists were sending me their stuff, and I did, and if I stuck them in with a bunch of other stuff, they might seem out of place. Whereas if I kind of put them all together, it would seem like a more solid musical genre,
Yeah.
you know, that existed and that people were participating in. If anybody wants to see what we've been talking about, or at least go look at some of that stuff, you can go to bombsheltervideos.com, and that's going to take you to a YouTube channel. And then, you know, there's some other stuff, like if you did billboard.com, that'll take you someplace else. You know, I have a bunch of different URLs, but if you start with Bomb Shelter Videos, that's a good place to start. Yeah, and Frosty, thanks for letting me hang out with you and have this conversation. I think that will probably change someone's life, or at least inspire them in some punk rock sort of
podcast.
way.
Yeah, start your own podcast. I mean, anybody can do this. All you need is a couple microphones and a computer, and you know, just like a little bit of piss and vinegar, and just like a want to do something.
Oh, piss and vinegar, that's what you got on my leg?
Yeah, right. But that's what makes punk rock great, is just you know, it's not about the labels, and it doesn't matter, you know, about, you know, the bigger bands that, you know, are on the whatever those big ass festivals and stuff, or tickets cost like $50. That's not punk rock. I mean, that's
$100.
Yeah, $100 or something. I mean, that's, you know, I mean that's all cool, and I'm not putting anybody down or anything for doing that, but I mean, like, punk rock is just about doing it yourself.
Well, you know, and I think the thing
weird.
too with punk rock that was like a big deal was support the bands that are of your age.
Yeah.
And it sounds really weird because people want to, like, you know, all these like teenagers want to love the Doors and Led Zeppelin, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but you know, those guys are senior citizens. And if you want to say your favorite band is a bunch of 60 and 70-year-olds, that's just unforgivable. It needs to be people that are within a 10-year range of your age. That's what I think.
Yeah, sure.
But then again, I'm opinionated, and sometimes I'm a total fucking asshole. But
okay.
I take pride in it.
Right?
Yeah, so shut the fuck up. I'm just kidding. Talk all you want. It's your show.
Anyways, I think that'll do it for this episode of Talking to Frosty. Thanks everybody for listening, and stick around for more episodes. Keep ear to the ground. Yeah, check it out on Instagram. I don't really mess around with Facebook much anymore. I don't really try to promote anything on Facebook. Every time I say anything on Facebook, I get flagged or thrown in jail or something like that, and you know, you can't say anything on there anymore. So Instagram, Talking to Frosty. We'll have more guests, maybe some people you know, maybe some people you don't know, and it doesn't really matter. Anybody can be on the show. Give me a call or text me or get at me through instant messenger or whatever means or whatever, and just come hang out.
Can you subscribe to this podcast?
You can.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like, subscribe, all the stuff that you do to you know, yeah. Anyways, sometimes it's like leaving a message for somebody on an answering machine. It's like, okay, and go. I can't
Yeah, the
do
first
it.
time.
Yeah, fuck it. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. All right, thank you. Bye bye.